I'm trying to help. I don't want to see you get your ass kicked in another election. I don't want to see you lose in the midterms. I don't want to see you lose 4 years from now in advance with J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or somebody being the next president of the United States just because they're opposite you. I want the best candidate for the country to win. That cannot happen. That can't happen if you have no voice. But I was just trying to make a profound point, and that is that I think the Democratic Party in the state that they find themselves in, I think somebody like me could actually win. I certainly think that I could beat any of those candidates that you put on the screen. I can tell you that right now. I certainly think if I was running up against somebody like you, I would win that race too. So when you think about the candidates that you possibly go up against, why don't you run for some sort of office? I think you'd be great. You'd have my vote. Please answer. Huge fan. Peace and love. First of all, the only office I would ever be interested in is the presidency of the United States.
On Breaking Points, Crystal Ball will make the case for this dude, Stephen A. Smith.
I mean, we know his politics are very, normie, always hewing to the center. He's real buddy-buddy with Sean Hannity. Loves this, loves him, loves the whole mantra of bipartisan sort of norms, et cetera. But he is at least charismatic. He is at least charismatic. He's at least unafraid of he's not afraid of controversy. He's not afraid of, actually saying what he thinks and stating it in a clear and unequivocal manner. And I think in terms of putting aside my own political ideological project, I think so much of the discussion, especially after this loss about how does this issue pull and that issue pull, and maybe they should have, said a little bit more about this or said a little bit more about that based on the polling, et cetera, et cetera. I really think one of the core issues for Democrats is just a lack of someone who is compelling.
I don't necessarily agree here, but more from Crystal first.
If Democrats want to win again, they do need to look for a character who is like Stephen A. Smith. And just in terms of winning, again, not in terms of what I want to see ideologically happen, just in terms of winning, that is very much the direction that they need to pursue, more so than any of the poll tested adjusting themselves on this issue or that issue, et cetera.
Yeah, it gets to a vibe question. I think that's objectively true.
Now, on this front,
in at least 5 polls, he's up. He's up in the polls over Biden in at least 5 polls that I counted. That's the reality of the situation. Despite the counts against them, the indictments against them, being impeached twice and all of this other stuff, he is the presumptive GOP nominee. And you don't seem to have the issues in your favor, you believe. So because of that, you're going to manipulate the system as best as you possibly can to avoid him possibly running for re-election again. That appears to be their strategy.
Roland Martin would have some thoughts. Hey guys, quick break in the action. I have a new show coming out called The Rick Strom Show. It is going to be awesome. I'm interviewing musicians, athletes, producers, writers, journalists, authors, sports doctors. Go check it out at youtube.com/@TheRickStromShow. Also be sure to throw me a follow on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. It can all be found in the description box below. Thank you.
What Donald Trump is on trial for is literally the exact same thing his attorney pled guilty on. It says Michael Cohen pleads guilty in Manhattan federal court to 8 counts, including criminal tax evasion and campaign finance violations. If the charges against Trump are bogus, were the charges against Michael Cohen bogus? The facts are the facts. No Democrat made Donald Trump illegally pay off a porn star and use his attorney to hide the payoff because he did not want the voters to know about it. Let me remind Stephen A. and Sean Hannity, this happened before the election because Trump did not want the world to know that he paid off a porn star.
It's much ado about nothing. To my liberal friends out there, all you're doing is showing that you're scared you can't beat them.
2020 election. Interfering with the election. Is this trial bogus? Did Donald Trump not call and say, find me those 11,000 votes? Oh, guess what? There have been at least 3 people who've already pled guilty who were indicted with Trump. So if this is a bogus case, why did they plead guilty? One of them was a lawyer. It could be because they realized they were guilty.
That I've ever had to articulate out of my mouth from a political perspective. But I got to tell you something. As much as people may have been abhorred by Donald Trump's statement weeks ago, talking about how black folks, he's hearing that black folks find him relatable because what he's going through is similar to what black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth.
I would have loved to know specifically what historic, iconic figures, because I know Dr. King went to jail. I know Dr. Jim Lawson went to jail. I know that they went to jail, but they did not hold classified documents. They did not pay off porn stars. They did not try to overturn an election. They did not overstate the value of their properties to apply for business loans. So therefore, there literally is no comparison.
But it wasn't just Roland Martin.
There's no way that any logical, sane black person can identify, relate to Donald J. Trump, the twice impeached, 91-time felony count charged ex-president who lost the popular vote, 6 times bankrupt, lost 3 civil cases, defamation, found liable civilly of sexual assault, and for fraud on the Trump organization. That's just an abbreviated list.
Reese Colbert also weighed in on the subject.
In terms of Stephen A. Smith, I do feel like how incredulous he was in the response to the criticism was a little bit annoying.
I agree.
So when people come back and they take you to task for it, or they speak at cross purposes to it, I don't understand the chastising that came from him on the other side of it.
Yeah. I think that it was more about being right than it was about, because he constantly says, I don't care, right? That's the part that I find interesting. I don't care. I don't care about this. I don't give a damn what people have to say. But then you go on your podcast and you're constantly trying to prove how you aren't the things people are accusing you of without specifically addressing the statement that was at issue. It's not even just how he presented black people to this Fox News audience, which, to your point, Sean Hannity wouldn't have him on. They talk about being friends. That's how he introduces him. Stephen A. Smith doesn't like to say he's my friend. And Stephen A. is like, well, I am your friend. I would imagine Sean Hannity knows how Stephen A. was going to answer that question before he even brought him on.
As did Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay, plus longtime journalist and author Jeff Pearlman.
So I did an earlier video about Stephen A. Smith. Then I took it down because I didn't feel like that I conveyed it correctly. And really what I want to say is, why do you have to have an opinion about everything? Like, why are you, Stephen A. Smith, successful by all measures? Why are you going on Fox News? Why are you going on Hannity? And why are you comparing Trump's legal situation to that of the plight of black Americans? It's insane. Like, it doesn't even make sense. And if you did some research into Trump, and I wrote the book about the USFL, I know a lot about Donald Trump and his history. There is no comparison to be made. Black people are on over and over and over again. And here's this guy, Donald Trump, and I'm just being honest here. When the Central Park Five were exonerated, he continued to call for their death penalty and refused to accept it. I mean, he's a bad guy. When he had Queens housing, he limited the amount of available units for blacks. Not a good guy. So stop talking like you know, because you actually don't know in this subject.
Very quickly, my thoughts are this. The Dems are boring. I get that. They lack charisma. Get it. But the problem is we have this push and pull that Republicans do not have, which is we want to see the party go further left to not have billionaires run the country. By every stretch of the imagination, if you go down the list, there are many Dems who have the same donors as Republicans. That's a problem. That's a big problem. And we saw it with the Harris campaign and her family member being an Uber executive, and how she completely changed her rhetoric on the campaign trail at the drop of a hat once the reports came in that that family member / Uber executive wanted to have a say in policy. What we need are the essentials that every other well-developed country has. We need healthcare. We need livable wages. We need the price of housing to come down. We need the price of groceries to come down. We need to have less corporate greed. We need less exploitation. We need more protections when it comes to unions. We need updated infrastructure. We need trains and tracks that were not built during the Civil War era, for Christ's sake. These are basic needs. And the person that we needed was Bernie Sanders. And he got, as the Utah kids say, forked. He got forked over by the DNC. And who do they put in charge of the DNC prior to this last election until they actually, it seems, may potentially have the right guy in charge? Jamie Harrison. Look up who Jamie Harrison is. Not just that he got his behind smashed by Lindsey Graham for the Senate race, but look up where he came from, because he is a part who protects the top 1%. We can't have that guy running the playbook. And again, this is, we say it all the time, the Dems are not there to save us. That's why I am looking at other options, because it is quite clear. Hakeem Jeffries saying, what leverage do we have? What leverage do we have? What leverage did the Republicans have when they didn't have the House and the Senate and the presidency? They played ball. And I despise Republicans. But if there is one thing that I've said over the years, it is that when they say they're going to do something, they do it. And they're going to get it done. And the Dems just put lipstick on a pig. There are some things that they do which meet our minimalistic standards. Minimalistic. In the year 2025, when it comes to some human rights, but not all, as we've seen. They wanted to, under the Harris campaign, carry out mass deportations, and they were basically in favor of building the wall. That was insane. So I keep saying this, the Dems will not save us. But it's at this point in time, because of how the system is set up, where we only have two major political parties, this is all we have. So we have to try to continue pushing them further left and further left. Because right now they are just basically centrist, if not right wing, in the grand scheme of in the grand scheme of world politics per se. So, is Stephen A. Smith the guy? No. Sorry, no. I think he would play up himself like he always does in a Trumpian way by saying anything to get his name in the news, anything to get his name trending on Twitter, anything for him to be talked about on TikTok and Instagram. He will do it, and he's fantastic at doing it. I give him credit for that. He wants a $100 million contract from ESPN. Probably at this point worth it, because they put all of their eggs in the Stephen A. basket. They didn't try to develop any other characters, any other personalities. This is basically what they are at this point. If Stephen A. leaves ESPN, I have no idea what will happen to that network outside of live sports programming. But there are so many things that he has said that are not being outlined on breaking points that are deeply problematic, and shows, as he has said, he's a capitalist. I don't believe in it. I just don't. I don't believe in it. I don't believe that we should have a system that says Jeff Bezos can make, to meet quota, drivers piss in bottles, but they also have to work a second and third job just to put food on the table and afford rent. I don't believe in it. Sorry. He said very problematic things about women. Bad. Has he learned from it? I guarantee he says that he will. But that Ray Rice comment was awful. Awful. And he's had many more. I played it saying Donald Trump was relatable because of the things that he went through when it comes to the judicial process. Insane comment. Insane. So I think at the end of the day, what Stephen A. Smith will do is what he's always done, because we have a track record. He will protect the richest people because he wants to be a part of them. He's very popular. Don't get me wrong. But when you look at some of the things that he has said as it pertains to really important issues, I mean, it feels like we're just settling at this point. If this were to be the case, we're settling. And that is not what I want. So as of right now, there's no leader in the clubhouse. And I would say Stephen A. Smith is not even on the leaderboard. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.